Hey, so I was watching Outside Realms video where he's just opening Godot for the first time, and I saw that bless me, he was confused about some things. So I thought I'd just try to clear it up. I've just created a new scene with 2D. So if I save it, it needs to become a scene, so I'll just go whatever. As you can see, it's defined as a scene, so pretty much any scene tree is a node with child nodes. If you see here, 2D node and sprite node, so if I go sprite 2D, you can follow the line, you can see it inherits from node 2D, you follow that line, inherits from canvas, which inherits from node. So it's all, it's like a inheritance system. And with that, say if I want to add something that doesn't inherit from the node 2D, but I want control. This is where I think some of the tripping up happened. So the sprite 2D has all of its properties over here, which is the offset and stuff. And then the node 2D doesn't refer to the node 2D in the scene tree. It refers to the class that sprite 2D inherits from. So let's say I just pop this in here. So this will move the position, and then the offset moves it from its anchor point. If you notice this little crosshair type thing, and you can change anchor points whenever you have something inside a control. As you can see with this control, there's no node 2D property because it doesn't inherit from a node 2D. It goes straight from the canvas item. So I can make this control node, let's just go, that's not what I'm looking for, this anchor preset. I'll go like that, I suppose. Oh, here's why. Whatever, I'm confusing myself. If I put the sprite 2D inside, as a child of the control node, it's, I can reset the position, and that's going to go to the anchor point of the control node. So if I now move this, let's go full rect, put this in the center, or whatever. Okay, for some reason that's not working. I think that's because it's sprite 2D. I mean, node 2D. Sorry, I mostly do everything in 3D. But anyway, Outside Realm was also looking at where it was placed in the 3D world. So Godot actually only renders in 2D if there's nothing three-dimensional to render. So you don't need, a 3D world, unlike Unity, where in Unity you have the 3D space and everything that's 2D is kind of like on a 2D plane within that 3D space. For Godot, that's not the case. It's just 2D space. And while he was doing some code, oh, sorry, I'll just go. When you attach a script, you can also just press this button here. This built-in script thing, what that means is when you're using GDScript, you can make the script a property of the object itself, of the sprite 2D node itself. Whereas if you don't do built-in, then it's something that you can attach manually, if that makes sense. So we'll just do this. So let's say on the process I want to do the position.x, plus equals 3 times delta, and then that's that. He was saying that in the Visual Studio, because you can use F2 or F12, whatever your button was, to find the definition and everything. Not only can you use search help, which is everything that's in the online documentation, but within the engine. So if I go, Sprite 2D or whatever, but I can actually just hold control. And as you see, when I move my mouse, it becomes highlighted or underlined. I can then click on it, and now we're at the definition of a Node 2D's property position, wherever that was here. And you can do that for anything, so like project settings, all of it. You were also mentioning the difference of how you would have a function that's called every frame and then some that's called, half the frames or whatever. In Godot, you have a process, which is every frame that your computer can render. And then you have a physics process, which is at the frame rate that you define yourself in project settings. Then we can go physics common. Here we go, physics ticks per second. So that means 60 frames per second is the physics process. So what some people do is if they're targeting 60 FPS for their game output, they'll actually render the physics process at 30 frames per second, which will massively increase performance because the physics process that's how many times per second it's rendering things like, everything that's in here, but also, rigid objects and stuff like that. But your display output isn't limited to physics process unless you force it to be. Otherwise, you can have a frame rate limiter, which I personally just use with VSync. There are a whole bunch of different ways to do it. Oh, that's right, scripts. I knew there was one more thing. So you're right, every object can only have one script at a time. But say you have a child node of this and we put on, another 2D and then like a collision shape 2D and we, define that thing's shape, whatever, doesn't matter. Each of its children can also have a script. But what some people like to do is, let's just remove all this for now. So what I typically do is say I have a, is there a character 2D? Is that a thing? It is. What am I doing? Just script, we'll just use the template for now. As you can see, it extends a character body 2D, which goes to, it inherits physics body 2D, which inherits from collision object, which inherits from node 2D. What you can also do is class name and define your own name. So let's go all characters, right? And then we can go not as a child node, we can make a separate 2D scene. And we can make the root node a character body. Let's just rename it to player. And then instead of extending from this, so we'll give it a script, it's called player. Instead of extending from that, we can just go extends all characters. Was that what I called it? What did I call it? Oh, it's because I didn't save it, did I? Last name, all characters. Oh, there we go. So now, everything that I've defined in the all characters script, so as you can see, I've got jump velocity and whatnot. I can just go func ready jump velocity equals whatever, and then yeah, I can attach the player script to the player, and it has everything the character script has. Hey, sorry, this is an edit, but I thought of another couple things. So I go to project settings, and then I do scale window, scale mode. No, maybe it's stretch aspect. So we can make the mode of things that stretch, like the canvas item. So let's go back to the 2D. We'll put on this thing. Give it. Oh, let's actually go sprite 2D. This thing. We can rename it. Put it over here. So we can go project settings and then canvas items can stretch, or the viewport can stretch. The viewport is, see this little blue box? That is the definition of what your viewport is. So we don't have a camera in 2D because you're not pointing a camera at anything, it's just everything in the viewport. In 3D we would use a camera. But, so we can stretch everything in the viewport itself, and we can do the aspect. So let's keep the aspect, but we can, I'll change the background so it's not just grey for you. Or if I go color, environment default clear color, we can change that to black or dark grey or whatever. So this guy will be in here and we can run it and select current. So as you can see, that's everything outside of the aspect ratio. So what was happening before with you was you didn't have a window stretching method or scale, whatever you want to call it. Let's just go 1280 by 720. Stretch. Yeah, so if we keep but disabled, so meaning it's not going to do anything. So if we hit play, that's the size of the viewport. If I change it, then you know we're not going to see the difference here. Yeah, that's that. Another thing that I wanted to point out was if you give something a script, let's do built-in now. When I did func ready on the player, which was extending from, so let's just go, what am I clicking? Extends all characters. Instead of doing func ready, what you can actually do is make it so that it makes some initializations upon ready. So, you know, if we're just defining variables or whatever, we can go at on ready and then, you know, var blah 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 blah. Another thing that's really cool is we can actually go at export, and let's say we want a property, a float property. Just go var float. If it's going to come up, it's not. I need to name it first. My bad. Flow equals. We don't even need to give it an equals. It just has to be a float. But you know, let's make it 0.0. You can save it, And now when we click on here, there, flow. Oh, that's why. Okay. So, attach, put player on. There. So now we've got export means it'll export the, any property that you define to the editor, and it won't change the definition. It'll make it whatever you've set it to on the editor upon the onReady. So the onReady, it's the same thing. So if we go func ready, just flow equals 5 or something, it'll just swap this to 5. So yeah, hopefully this helps later. I'm sorry for yet another edit, but I just wanted to add one more thing. So as you can see here, this is the root node. We've got this, and then we can add it as a child. Add a child to it, whatever we want to add. And then, more nodes will be like that. We can save that branch, so from here down as a scene, or we can just add a new scene. So let's just go 2D scene and give this nodes. Like that. We can save that. What we can actually do over in our other scene here, notice that we now have this scene that we just made. We can actually just pop this in anywhere, and it only shows us the scene as a node. But if we click this icon, it'll open up that scene so that we can edit it directly from there, just like that. So yeah, sorry, I'm actually gone for good this time.